Welcome back, everyone, to the DreamHack Open featuring Fortnite, where we are ready for the grand finals. We all started yesterday with the Open qualifiers, where tens of thousands of teams tried to be the top 250 from their heat. And then we just wrapped up the semifinals, where 500 teams had 3 hours to complete 10 games and get as many points as possible. But now it's the grand finals. Only 50 teams remain, and a $250,000 prize pool awaits them at the very end. We got none other than Shio Wager and Bala TW as your two commentators for the grand finals today. Bala, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing really good. It's exciting to get to a spot where we have DreamHack Duos grand finals, and it's going to be EU too. It's going to be such an awesome day, and it's going to be so much good Fortnite action.
Yeah, I asked Levin. Levin definitely has a pulse on the European community. But Shai, I want to ask you, what have you seen the response for Duo's announcement here at the DreamHack Open?
The response has been large, if not large, sizable from the entire European and possibly Fortnite community. Everyone loves Duos because it has that extra pizzazz / teamwork, and it's just that much more fun to watch.
Oh yeah, we had some incredible plays going on throughout the semifinals. Chat, if you guys missed it, definitely go rewatch the VOD because there were some great plays going on. We had Wolfies and CRR get an incredible victory royale rotating with a car, but here we have the highlights.
Absolutely, and these highlights too were definitely way up high in the sky with the action that went down. Savage, a person you'd expect to get eliminations, be on top, survive to end games, being taken out by people who we don't usually see playing in Europe semis or grand finals.
Yeah, and the fact that it's going to be Duos for the first time too is going to bring back a lot of new names that we're not necessarily used to seeing. So what you're pointing out about what happened in semifinals, we're going to see in grand finals too, because we got a bunch of new names to look at.
There's still throwbacks too, though. We have Chapix, we have a bunch of different teams that are still here, are still at the top, and they place her at the top, Kelly.
Yeah, a bunch of new names and a bunch of old names as well, as you guys had said. And we've had some great interviews over the last 2 days with a lot of these players sharing their insight on how Duos competition is something that they've been wanting, and being able to see them execute and perform incredibly well and make it into the grand finals has been a great journey so far. But look at that. We have some big names up on the screen. We even saw some big names get eliminated there, guys, but these highlights keep rolling.
Yes, and Kezix and 4Z are one of the top 2 people to look at coming out of Europe. Didn't actually get to play the last grand finals Europe had. Might have a chance to clap back today.
Yeah, that was definitely, they won 2 out of 3 of the FNCS weeks, and then they ended up falling, not making it to the grand finals, but they will be here in the grand finals today. They will be challenging for that top spot. As we take a look at the results from earlier.
Look at these. First place, Janice and Reason with 463 points. Right below them, the Wolfies and CRR were in first place throughout the entire semifinals. So Janice and Reason able to steal that away from them, but they're close on their heels with only a 2-point difference. Milan and Chapix held down third place with Munch and Pablo in fourth and Kiriachi and Putrick in fifth. But gentlemen, you can look down that list. It's some of the biggest names in Fortnite.
Yeah, that there is. Kiriachi Putrick, Tayson Thomas, a fierce duo that nobody really expected to group up together from the way that the grand finals and FNCS worked out, but definitely 2 of the best players in the region. And now paired up together, it's basically like a god duo from the old days. Remember when Mongrel and Mitro paired up together? That's the level of talk that people are putting this guys on a pedestal. That's how good they are.
Why'd you have to say that team though, Bala?
Hey,
Mongrel and Mitro didn't qualify.
Sometimes the fallen have to give way and rise to new faces like we talked about earlier. And that right now, I think Tayson and Thomas HD have taken 2020, at least the tail end of it, by storm.
Ooh, that's what Levin was saying. He gave it to the whole thing to win for Tayson and Thomas HD. And here is our bottom 10, chat. These are the teams that barely scraped by and the teams that did not qualify. One of those teams being Flick and Anas constantly being in the top 10 for our solos competition. I'm a bit sad that we're not going to be seeing him in the duos grand finals.
Yep, and sometimes if a trio splits up and duo starts, some people get the short end of the stick, right? It's Anas and Flick that kind of get left behind as Thomas and Tayson move on. But past that 2 at 50th, Paco and Cammy, guys who you can never really count out. I would say even the wild cards in that wild card kind of slot of last place. We've seen what last place does, especially in Europe when it comes to grand finals in DreamHack. They always somehow perform and go above and beyond. Will Cammy and Paco do that too? Will they, repeat history? That's going to be the thing I'm going to be looking out for today.
We 100% saw them do that in game number 4 there, where it was Kami versus, it was Artor versus Kami in a 1v1, and Kami was able to win with the chug splashes and giving him enough points to qualify. That's exactly what he needed to be up there, because it's only a 1-point difference from 50th and 51st. But some other big names that you guys are going to be seeing in the grand finals, of course, we got Steelix and Shelby, Mr. Savage and Benji Fishy, currently sitting in 18th place. We got Andalix and Nate, we got Kinzel, the 2-time champ, and Wakey, as well as, speaking of 2-time champs, we got Teak in here, guys. It's going to be absolutely absurd. But what I want to shift the focus on right now is the map, because drop spots are going to be changing. We actually got to have some incredible interviews yesterday where the teams were saying that on the fly they were changing their drop spots. I don't know if we're going to see that in the grand finals, though.
I think we definitely might, because I don't think people really understand what the duos meta is. I mean, Sweaty Sands is a big one that we were talking about, Doom's Domain and Stark Industries in trios. But in duos, there's a lot more things that you can go for. You can actually, you know, split Slurpy Swamp, for example, and be that viable. In trios, you couldn't really split it. You had to have it completely to itself. So we'll see a lot of these smaller POIs be a lot stronger. But back on the topic of, you know, people switching things up on the fly, Kelly, I don't think we'll see that, because we're back down to 6 games. We're back down to 6 games to decide who the champion is outside of FNCS, which was 12. That's why we saw the changes last time.
And that's why each game will be that much more intense, especially as you mentioned, Bala, with splits of every POI. It won't just be the drop spots for that early game. It's going to be more so the mid game and the spots where things kind of converge from every POI. So, you know, Salty Springs, people come in from Sweaty Sands, from Doom's Domain, is going to be a hot spot for fights. We'll see someone in the middle of the map as well. Everything kind of marked in red right now are places where people will kind of clash over at moving forward into their game, into the mid and end game. That'll be the most important thing. That being said, there might be off-spawn fights, which might get really intense as well.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see a lot of those, specifically around Sweaty Sands, because obviously Kesix and 4ZR at the top of that leaderboard that we saw in the semifinals are going to be landing there. But will they be playing against Reason and Janice, who have been landing towards Sweaty Sands as well? Reason, of course, wasn't. But in any case, I think you're right about these other spots around the map. Some of the smaller spots that we've seen DreamHack winners come out of before, like Mr. Savage, from this tiny spot, Camp Cod down in the bottom. You know, these things will do very good in duos compared to where you really needed some strong bases of loot in trios.
Yep, and just to add a little bit more spice on the Sweaty Sands, we do have the first place team coming in from Reason and Janice over there, but also the first place overall duos team, Nathan and Alex from FNCS Duos, have also qualified. They were splitting / also fighting in FNCS trios. Will that happen again today? There's just that should be the drop we have to look at when we start over in game number 1.
But again, we still have to question who is going to be claiming Stark Industries. Is it going to be a fight every time? Doom's Domain, Wolfies, and CRR were going there every time during the semifinals, and for good reason. These spots still have huge potential. And depending on what the circumstances are around the map, like we talked about in Sweaty Sands and basically everywhere else, that's what creates drop spots. That's what makes these things really good. So Stark Industries, Doom's Domain could still be up on our radar. We're going to be trying to track all those fights as best we can.
Yeah, and we're going to be starting that in just a few moments. Chat, game number 1 here for the grand finals will be starting real soon. But Shia, we talked a little bit about something before the show started, and I want to hark on that a little bit more, that typically the DreamHack Open, which usually is a solos for the last 5 months, it's all about placements. Every time, whether it's the players or even you guys, the casters, you're talking about placements. But earlier today that you said the players are going to be focusing on eliminations. What is it about duos competition that shifts the meta a little bit?
I don't think the players themselves will focus on elims too heavily compared to before, but I feel like elims will be the thing that separate first from second more so than wins, or just a team from another team that are very close by in standings compared to placement like we've seen before in solos, right? It's not going to be just being consistent versus all the kind of randomness that goes down with 100 players in the lobby. You chop that in half, you have a little bit more consistency. Everyone I feel like will have a good game. And if everyone has good placements, elims will be the thing that separate them. Elims are also just so big in how many points there are for duos, and you get more in duos. So with all this talk about elims, I feel like they're a little bit more important than they were before.
No, I like what you said right there, that this is kind of going to be the bit set in stone, and you were kind of making the same argument there, Paula. And we got to interview refs and Scram just before the grand final started at the end of the semifinals. I believe they placed 10th place, so congratulations to them. But they said they don't have any ounce of a doubt that they're going to continue to land where their drop spot is, and no one's even going to contest them. And if they do contest them, they're going to eliminate them immediately. So I feel like a lot of these teams are going in confidently into the grand finals, and even with some excitement, it being a duos tournament for the first time in a long time. But with that being said, gentlemen, I have to ask you the difficult question. What?
I do want to hop in real quick there, Kelly, because you were talking about refs and Scram and how they're pretty comfortable landing steamy stacks, and the fact that they're not going to be contested, and if they do, they're going to dominate it. There are these teams that have such experience landing at certain spots like steamy stacks or refs and Scram that I think there's some turmoil in a lot of different a lot of different duos, because they've been playing on so many different trios. Like Airwax and Nikov are back together again. There's, different players like Andalex and Nate Shire, you mentioned they're playing again together, but they have not been contesting spots together. So they're all basically trying to find new space to work at. And that might give certain groups of players an advantage over others, maybe. So back to the question you're getting at, I think.
Paula. With that being said, who do you think is going to take it away? And before you give me the answer, chat, I want to know which team you think is going to be walking away with the big W and $16,000 first place prize. Now, Bala.
Yeah. So looking at the semis performances and also looking to see, once again, I'm always going for the French in EU because these guys are just so consistently good and they have such a high population in these finals. I'm going to go with Skite and Falconly. This is a pick out of left field. I don't think anybody really looked at their semis performance, but they got 3 wins. And when I look at teams that are going to do well in grand finals, it's the teams that are doing well average placement wise and are converting on wins. And for them to be the most victory royales in that semifinals, that's where I put my money on.
I even want to go a step further there in that they have decent momentum. Their first 2 games, they kind of floundered a little bit, but then they definitely steamrolled their next 8 games there, or their next 7 games, able to get 3 victory royales there. So I have to agree with you. The momentum that they're taking from the semifinals, it's going to look pretty good for them into the grand finals. But Shayo, you probably have a different answer.
I think that all teams are great, and whoever wins is going to be an awesome team from Europe.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing. My actual pick, though, I think I'll go with Kazakh's 4ZR. I was leaning kind of towards Nate and Alex. Maybe we go from, a duos champ to the first duos competition once again for DreamHack champion. But I feel like just from what I saw in the quals and just what I saw from semis, this team can play very well. They can be up there, maybe also in first, hopefully, because they're going to be hungry coming to these grand finals, not playing the last one. So that's my pick.
All right, I like it. It looks like chat's actually got some different answers right now. We got a lot of love for Tayson and Thomas. I see some Slicks and Rifle in there as well. Some Benji Fishy and Mr. Savage. Gonna be interesting, guys. Lots of good teams going into it. I personally am gonna give it to Wolfies and CRR. I know that they're in second place, but that was the semifinals. Probably one of the most consistent runs that we've seen. They were either in first or second throughout the entire day. So I like to go off of momentum, and they had some of the best momentum in the semifinals. So that's gonna be my answer there. But who needs to ask these questions when the answer is going to be right in our face? Game number 1 is going to be starting real soon, chat, but we do have a quick break. So when we get back, it's going to be game number 1 of the grand finals.
European duos domination with a cast of Shio Wager Bala TW combination. Let's get right into this competition. My man Bala, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. How fitting for us to be hopping into EU Grand Finals duos action for the first time, because last EU Grand Finals we had in solos, we announced this competition. We announced that there would be duos being played in November. Game 1 is underway.
And we're right out of that battle bus. We see Tayson and Thomas. We see X Squeeze jumping out as well. We see the whole map split in half, and so will all these fights and these middle to end games. Let's see where it all starts, though. That's off drop.
Tayson looks to be heading towards Stark Industries, heading somewhere else on the island. I did not see too many teams over towards 20 stands, so your pick of Kazakhs and 4ZR might have been able to claim it, or it could be somebody else. Nathan and Lex, maybe people are seeding to the grand champions of duos. FNCS, what feels like so long ago.
It's a different type of game, and people have tried to being kind of, assimilating to it, trying to change their play styles. Before you had an extra teammate. Now that all changes for DreamHack 2. Now you have an extra partner, a whole slew of mats to play with. And Hens here, starting the game out fast. Cavado, though, already has a weapon, and things are looking really, really bad off the start. Wait a minute. There's a pump. Watch out. Watch out for a second. Watch out, Cavado. You're getting shot in the back and the sides, and it's trying to dip, dock, and dodge, but it's not possible.
Yeah, but a duck might be coming across the pond right now to quack over towards Cavado. But his teammate also, where is he actually? Cavado doesn't seem to have one nearby. Duck is going to be, or X-Squeeze is going to be able to get inside this house, but already the left shoulder peek from Cavado is on. And hopefully has enough materials off the fallen body of Hen to actually hold on. There's also another team who has the cabin up north, but he will get the cone inside. Yes, he'll knock him just in time. His teammate coming around the side and be able to take it out and force a 1v1 in the future.
So 1-for-1, the mathematics kind of even out. Now we have a 1v1 coming up, but the mat and the materials are kind of low. So what X-Squeeze does. Heart Lake 2, it's kind of isolated, but there is another duo looking down and in. There's Letwick from the side. He's actually hiding inside the trees. There's a big beam here, although X-Squeeze has a better loadout. He might just get sniped in the head. Wow.
I have to wonder there what was going on in X-Squeeze's head. He had to know. He had to be asking himself the question, where did Letwick go off spawn? Because they only had one at that cabin. He must have confused them with that other duo who landed further up north.
And it's funny because Letwick had that same question. What was going on in his head? He sent a bullet to go find out. Now, X-Squeeze is gone. Looking over at Misty, though, I think this is what we kind of expected Sweaty Sands to look like. A bunch of teams, 3 almost had started things off. Tayson and Thomas, though, completely different story. It's scot-free. They have no one at Dirty Dots.
Wow. Wow, that is dangerous. So interesting, too. Thomas HD started off the season landing at Stark Industries, tried Steamy Stacks, but week 1 and warm-ups ending up going towards Dirty Docks, saying, okay, this is kind of free. Landing there the rest of the time and doing so well. Tayson now joining up with him. And it appears that there's no issue for them at Dirty Docks, though, a fight outside of Misty Meadows. Over at the Hunter's Prowl, Zax, Mirza, Snipe, they're in a little tussle as well, a big build fight. And I think they're going to be able to, yes, force the 2v1 onto Zax. An easy cleanup. They've gotten 2. Ockley picks one up in the feed as well. Not exactly sure where they're dropping. Actually 2, so a duo knocked from them too. I believe I've lost Shio. So just me for now, but that's okay. Snipe and Mirza will have to move off quickly off the Hunter's Prowl because Robabs and Snazy have already moved in to claim the Rift, which will do them wonders. They're actually pushing this team all the way up and south this mountain. They're trying to find some extra loot, but from what I can tell, it looks like they might be able to find some. Yes, that cabin doesn't look to be contested in the south coast. Nobody in the way. So grand finals for them, usually if you disengage out of a big POI like this, you end up paying because it's so contested on all sides of the map. But no, their research pays off. And a good loadout to boot. Both. AR pumps, plenty of heals. Zone starts to move, though. It'll force them north. This cabin already looted, but we'll see if they got any scraps. Probably not, given the stage of the game. And those rifts are going to be taken. Here's an image. Janice and Reason not landing over towards Sweaty Sands, but going towards Holly Hedges. This is where Reason started off his success in solos, in all the DreamHack competitions, and in FNCS. Was landing Holly Hedges, contested or not, but this time looks like Reason Janice, no elims for them. So not contesting. They've already got the upgrades down. Also a sniper. They're going to claim a rift of their own here at the Ant Farm. Maybe a fight too. He's actually just dashing in. Yes, okay. Right on top of him they go. Oh, no, can't build a wall there. And Reason tries to get the surprise, but he doesn't. Now he's paying for it. And they got him inside the box. Janus now has a 1v2 against two players here, Zandy and Nike. And they will be able to get him down as well inside the box. Not ever a situation you want to be in like that against two players. Still looking, they get the upgrades from where we're at the ant farm. They're going to be able to sit here for quite a while. Looking at the amounts of people alive in this game, looks like we're going to have a relatively normal stat game on our hands. 83 players alive right now. I mean, Surge is on the horizon potentially. Falconly, here's the replay from earlier against YZip. They're landing at Retail Row. And it was a 2 versus 2, but Falconly takes them out both in quick fashion. So an early win like this in game number 1 will set them up brilliantly for the future there at Retail Row. This team here, though, not really doing much. And for the time being, basically just farming up what they can. They're already max materials. Wondering what happened to Wolfies and CRR at Doom's Domain. Wondering what happened at Stark Industries, who landed there and who gets the spoils. Wondering what the situation that we asked about so hard in the beginning and basically said that there's potential for so many teams to be fighting at Sweaty Sands. Who is there and how will that end up coming through and affecting the grand finals here today? Thomas HD and Tayson, though, landed at Dirty Docks. No elims for them. And from what I can tell, being quiet on this rotation, staying underneath the lip of the Stark Industries cliff. Yes, it makes it hard for anybody up there to shoot down upon you, but you're also not getting the angles to fire upon them, only the people outside of the hill. So Surge, how do they deal with that? A big question. Over towards Sweaty Sands, it looks like Zinni and Flixie are moving in from a different spot, maybe from the coastal area, maybe all the way down from Slurpy Swamps. Looks like there's still a team here taking their time looting. There was some buildings. It is Andalex. It is Nate who landed here today. And I believe from what I saw on the map earlier, uncontested, Andalex will get a beam onto Flixie to start things off, and also a rifter nearby, so they've got to be careful on potentially some people rifting on them. We saw that at the beginning of the Trios FNCS. Some tags back onto Nate on the backside. Meanwhile, Flixie's gotten back up to full HP from the beams to start this fight. So we might be going to a stalemate for now, especially now that second zone is pulled all the way up towards Doom's Domain. Not necessarily a max distance zone, but they definitely have to reconsider pushing into this now. Oh, more tags on the Nate, and he's not healed up. Oh no, Flixie has gotten him from range. I don't know how that happened, but a good 5 seconds of AR barrage, and Nate is now down, crawling on the floor. Andalex trying to hold on. Looks like Nate might have disconnected. The way that he's moving actually indicates that he's still there. Andalex will have to disengage. Purple pump upgraded for Zinni, a great pick off, and for Nate and Andalex, not the start that they wanted. And Andalex won't even be able to probe the question of getting this reboot card. They're out of there. Meanwhile, Zandy and Nike, who took out Reason and Janice moments ago, now take the rift, and we get to see where that zone went. It is up towards Doom's Domain, so potentially if Wolfies and CRR are there, or if Benji and Savage have moved in from Ruins, as they like to do, push quickly into Doom's Domain, there definitely could be some people coming out with the advantage here. That's Steelix and them down below inside the vault. You don't have to worry about them landing on them. Here's Vidil and Noah Riley up north. Ooh, gets the beams on the gray, yes. And now we're already gonna push on to Shakos. They've identified the other person in this duo. With the AR that he has, oh my goodness, what a loadout from Vidil and Noah Riley. And to put that in the hands of these two is scary. Very scary. They're gonna be able to pick him for full damage on Surge. As as we get to see the rest of the game. Still, this fight going to continue. Badil and O'Reilly got actually on top of it. Here's the surge notification. We are going to have a pretty decent surge. Shaykov's trying to hold on by himself against two of the most prolific fighters, prolific W-Kiers in EU, no, in the world, since their FNCS solos and invitational performances. Both of these guys rose to prominence since then, though Noah O'Reilly has had some success before that. He will be the one to take him down. So, with that being said, 2 elims for them and a god loadout. Legendary AR, legendary pump. And I've got Shayo back.
Yeah, my ISP was just kind of excited in the fact that Badil and Noah O'Reilly were going to get into a fight. They held me back to come in and hype up the fact that these guys are not only one of the best fighters in the region, but just so good when they get rolling in a game 1.
And so many other people also were trying to figure out who is rolling in this game. Kinzel looks to be rolling 6 shockwaves of his own and an epic pump as well. The AR obviously not as good. And I do think that the AR is a critical factor in grabbing elims like we talked about, make the difference in duos grand finals, more so than the pumps in these situations where you could just spray down on people who don't have 3 members to build out and hold against you. In any case, though, Kinzel's got his eye on Badil and O'Reilly. Looks like they're again engaging on a fight on the side of zone. That might be the tactic that will get you in positions to really go into endgame with good situations. But here's another one. It's Ciara and Wolfie's on the edge too.
It's 2 teams, it's duels, but it's 3 syllables that these guys operate with. That's momentum. It's always about getting into one fight, but then finding another, especially right off the rip. But at the same time, if you reach too far, Kinzel's there to shoot you down. That's Wolfies and CRR out of game number 1.
Moraine and Jaspe on the edge. We also had Noah O'Reilly and them engaged in a fight up north. Surge is active now, and it's going to be an 8-person surge. 4 teams, maybe even 5 or 6, going to be affected by this, which will have huge effects as we see Kura picking up 1 and Bad Sniper 2.
And in the last kind of 2 minutes, only 4 people have gone down. Now it has to be double that, 8, before Surge kind of turns off. 2 people already taken out. Raxo and Kurzon on the brink of life right now. Raxo already taken out. There's Artur on the side. That duo's gone. Kurzon has to survive, kind of, but although he has a lot of mats around him, I don't think it's going to be possible with all these players. There's my aim coming right by to give Moraine and Jasper a little bit of a scare too. And no base is safe at all.
Wow, it might have been a pretty deep surge with 8 people. EU always makes these quick. 7 people have now fallen. We only need 1 more to go until this surge is over. Moraine and Jaspe are going to hold on and not really spray more because you clearly saw a desperate player coming up to them, trying to get the damage that he needed to get over that surge threshold. But meanwhile, they're going to start to move because, yes, while surge might be active, you do not want to give up time with this rotation. And in this first game, this is setting the pace. This is setting the tone for the duos grand finals. You want to start off very strong.
It doesn't matter how strong you are coming into things either with Surge, one of the top trios. Kha'Zix and 4ZR now split in half on that fight from Surge. One of them going down. I think Kha'Zix is the only one that's surviving right now. Gonna have to get that reboot at some point, but if that happens, Surge starts again.
The team that took out Janice and Reason, Nike Board, and Zandy still, they've actually gotten full control of the modern building in Doom's domain, formerly of Pleasant Park. Sky and Falconly are still up. In the distance, we see Tayson and Thomas HD on top of Rifle and Slicks. They've just basically edged their way into zone. Clement and Nakaz as well. So many top names have gotten into the edge, but third zone pulls over towards the center. They're going to continue to have to rotate, and we're wondering the mobility situation of so many of them.
The best team I think right now is definitely Seti and Teak in terms of their position overall in Doom's domain. Another team that is over at the Yellow House, but this domain is expanding. There's so many people coming in still from the sides. I'm not sure it has the space, the capacity, the real estate to be able to hold everything in check. Like good, even like just these kind of apartment complexes here, right? Right now, we're only looking at 2-story houses in Doom's Domain, but people are moving in on their own. We have big names all in one entire build that are still fighting for damage. Clement right there taking out Kurzon. We saw him just surviving by himself when Surge is going on. That story's over. Seventor and Link having trouble in general when they find anything aggressive around their boxes. They have no shields either. They've already been through trouble. It might be done for them.
Yeah, it might be. They're definitely going to be trying to find an engagement before they base up in that 5th zone, even the 4th zone. But what I'm seeing on the radar and also on their screen, I saw Andalex. Okay, he's by himself. I thought for a moment he might have actually picked up Nate and spent some time in the zone to get the reboot off, but instead we're going to have Orb and crew try to fight right now. Seventor will get the start off, though. They try to engage, but out on the wrong people. Jachu's on the backside. Is that Jachu? No. Can't quite see the name, but in any case, he's going to take the pinch. Yes, off the backside. Connects with the loot, and at least they've secured that. That's what they needed to get back into this game. But no shield for Link. At least they got a little bit of material, though.
Yeah, but all they found was cabbage, and they need protein right now. They don't need these leafy green salads. They need the shields, and they're not there. Revsguard and Scram, though, they've eaten lunch and have something extra for takeout. 6 shields, 3 shockwaves, a golden sniper rifle if they need to, and as soon as that endgame starts, that purple pump will activate on Revsguard's inventory.
And the big question going to the 5th zone as it starts to... 4th zone starts to move and we get ever closer to reveal is who's going to be in a position to take height in that 5th zone. Ever so important in duos and team modes is to try to alpha for that high ground as early as you can. Gives you such an advantage. Andalex will pick up Link. Oh, Andalex as a solo picks up Link. Link, who tried to catch up to his teammate, definitely got caught off guard. Latwick is still up. He takes out, I believe, is Slicks. Can't see it there, but in any case, Refguard and Scram, like you said, they are below, though. Below Surge, out of Steamy Stacks. Definitely has had a little bit reduced Surge pass. They're going to try to get big pumps. It's on Marine and Jaspe, though, and I think that they were super strong and super far above the Surge threshold.
They need crash pads. That's the one thing they don't have, the one part of their course that's missing, and it's going to be unfortunate for them because they'll have to relocate. Thomas and Tayson are on that same level as well. We're talking about apartment complexes. There's more than just knocks at the door now. Revsguard, though, is in a very good spot. Good jump into this box. It'd have to be a big commitment. That ramp is set up, the edited pyramid. And Jasper and Marine are on back sides of the storm. So this could be something that drops down. The suspense, unreal. The fight also over in a blink of an eye. Jasper, Marine down, and Revsguard and Scram took no damage.
We might have missed it, but I think the key was there. You called it out. They were on the backside of zone. They waited for that to push them in, and then they will evict the landlords that we said had such a good position inside Doom's domain to start things off. And that is where the 5th zone will go. So perfect play there from Revsguard and Scram, the 10th place finishers in the semifinals, to bring them back into the game from being below Surge by quite a bit.
You're talking about good positions too. Let's look at Shelby and Steelix right now. An entire L tarp on the bottom side inside this half and half circle. Everyone else still has to move in. Benji and Savage now right beside them. Skite and Falconly also alive and together. Teak and Seti, though, have barely even moved that much. Have a huge tarp that I believe is all in zone as well from extra materials. So now we're seeing this end game kind of being built out. It looks kind of reserved. There's not any insane builds. There will be a few fights, though, as people clash on rotation.
But there is one insane position right now. It's Noah Riley and Vidil up on the northwest of the minimap, right on the edge of this 5th zone, and they are way above anybody else. As Shelby in the bottom right of the screen picks up one on the edge. But just like that, they've actually edged their way in as well. Same with Teak and Seti that you pointed out before, but it's Noah Riley and Vidil who take their claim on high ground in this 5th zone.
And the big thing, too, is the top half of the zone right now in Doom's domain remains unclaimed. That means that as soon as the zone starts moving, wherever it goes, everyone's going to have to move together. If you use shockwaves, there'll be people crashing right beside you, maybe even in your box. So even if these guys feel safe right now, that will all change in a matter of just a few seconds.
But it pulls across. So it might not actually be meant to be for Noah Riley and Vidil. Instead, Slicks and Rifla are the ones who come out on top of this high ground fight because 6th zone pulls all the way back towards the east to the other side of Doom's domain. They'll be able to hold on for now, but we know that Vidil and them had shockwaves. We know that that might be a play in the future for Height. If they're interested in it now, then we know they're going to be interested in it later. And we know also those teams have played with Aqua, and his influence on them has obviously been very, very key.
This is kind of insane. People are already going straight for Height. Rifla is going to be shot down a little bit. I'm not sure where Six is. He's still alive though, but everyone's trying to go for that high ground position that just started off in this moving zone. We still have Shelby and Celix on the right side. They're staying safe. Scram is not so much so right now. Shizzy goes down. Still, that duo stays alive. Everyone is moving forward, but no one is trying to touch that ground. Everyone's staying mid-ground. It's slightly more expensive. They're kind of staying away, but now the rotation comes into play and things get so much more crazy.
It does. We're going to have a moment right here where we wait and see what's going to happen. Shelby does get beamed a little bit below Surge too, so they're going to have to deal with that. Wakey is alive, and I believe I saw Kinzel also. Vidil is down in the middle of so many. Here's no Riley. They're box to box with Shelby right now. They might be able to actually get the edits. No. Instead, they're going to take the time to heal, but up above, it's Slicks. Meanwhile, Benji goes down. Savage does not have any elims, but he does finally get Zinni. He's going to be able to get that refresh and go forward. Benji's trying to potentially find a way to end his life so that Savage can get the loot, but that's not going to happen. It is Vidil trying to contest on the outside of zone right now, and Savage left alone to clutch, but Falconly and Skyder are up, and they've taken out 2.
We watch Savage on low ground. Remember though, on Height, Chapix is still up there, taking control in the 5th zone and still having it while fighting with the BL duo of Rifle and Slicks. We'll see how that fight goes. Up in Storm, there's Paco and Cammy, the 50th place duo, looking to see if they can get a little bit higher in the rankings over after game number 1. A gas canister is not going to really help you with the shields, but it might do a lot of damage. Here it goes. Paco's looking for it. There's a slew of duels down below. He drops it down. Will it explode in time? A big boom, but not enough damage right there. People are safe.
And it's Chapix and Milan who actually end up taking Height. So they have a huge opportunity here. Did very well in the semifinals, but no, O'Reilly just got 3. Still so many different threads in this game. Bad sniper next to Thomas HD. He's by himself, both of them. Chapix and Milan, a full duo up on top. Kinzel is still alive. Cammy with Paco down below. Paco will find one. It's Kinzel, the end of that. And they're going to start to continue on mid-ground to find themselves a win potentially. 10 teams remain.
They have a pocket shockwave. We'll see what happens next. No one's really going down right now in terms of a team. Media gets a few more snipes. Putrick down below is not paying attention, and he gets beamed right out.
That he does as we go over this hill. Is there anybody else going to contest down on low ground? Thomas HD with barely any HP, and it doesn't matter. 220 max damage. Vidil did contest towards Height against Chapix. Where did Milan go? It looks like he's gone. So Vidil against Chapix, this could be huge. But Chapix has the advantage, more HP in this fight. Meanwhile, on low ground, Paco still trying to work with his teammate. Steelix and Shelby are alive as well. Krusty and Bad Sniper has solos. Vidil has given up the fight. He will have to play second Height for quite a little bit of time. Here we go, Paco trying to get himself some space. They haven't quite gotten it yet. There we go, finally, but they get knocked down at the same time, forced to play low.
They're alive right now. The other duo as well is going to be chopped in half. Vidil still has no O'Reilly's body, somehow surviving. He got dropped down so early. Chapix always by himself on Height.
Yeah, and what does he have? The keys right now, full old builds that he can actually go back on, and I think he might have chug splashes or something to fight through this. Paco gets chunked down against Steelix. Cammy will be able to back him up though, so we got 2 solos, a duo down on low, and then a solo up on Height. But Chapix still on the old builds, the old Tark. Does he have materials? He has floppers and chug splashes. He might be able to win the game, but not gonna get eliminations because that would be too much of a risk. Paco trying to work his way still with Cammy. That's gonna be the biggest threat for Chapix. Yes, Paco, another big shot once again. And they're playing different layers now, just have to get through the big boss on low. It's Vidil, and they will finish him, but no chug splashes. Chapix is going early though, really, really early. And if they can actually find some sort of heals, they might be able to do this, but it's over. Chapix has outplayed the entire lobby as a solo. From the fight he had against Vidil and everybody else, he survives, holds on to his heals, and holds on to the victory royale.
From 5th zone, blasting off straight to the atmosphere and winning the game from heals. Chapix wins game number 1. We'll be right back with more EU DreamHack action.